Welcome to the Open Door Podcast, everyone. My name is Rodney Franklin. I am your host, and I don't know how you found this podcast, but I'm so glad that you did. Um, Many of you have been along for the ride for years that I've been doing YouTube kind of sporadically. So you've been through a few iterations. So I thank all 55 of you, day ones, I'll call you. Um, Up until this latest iteration of my YouTube channel. And I am going to also transform this into a podcast. Again, the name of the podcast is the Open Door Podcast. Um, Reason for that is because I just want to open up a door for conversation. I want to open up a door for connection and open up a door to um, just living and growing and learning faith out loud. Um, this podcast is not about pretending to have life figured out, right? None of us do. I don't. So I'm not going to come to you as a guru. I'm not going to come to you as a professional saying these are the steps that you need to follow in order to have a successful life, or these are the steps that you need to follow in faith for God to start to intervene in your life. It's not what this podcast is about. This is, again, like I said, learning faith out loud. You are going to be on a journey with me. I'm going to be on a journey with you, and we are going to figure this thing out together. It's going to be an awesome. It's going to be an awesome journey. It's going to be just such a blessing. I can see it already. I can feel it already. But anywho, just some things about the topics that we'll discuss during this podcast. Across many episodes, some of these episodes might make you feel hopeful. Some of these episodes might make you feel uncomfortable. Some of these episodes might get messy because I'm coming at you from a real perspective, right? These are things that I'm living through, and I'm living them out loud right in front of you guys so that you can see the growth and the transformation and the things that are happening in real time, right? And I'm hoping that in our connection and in the comments and you sharing and building the community, that there will be more testimonies, similar to mine, different than mine, all over the place. We have testimonies, we have um, triumphs, we have wins, and we have transformations that are beyond anything that we could ever imagine, right? Um, the most important thing about these this podcast is that these episodes will be really, really honest, right? I want this space to feel like somewhere you can breathe, somewhere where you can think, somewhere where you can question things without being judged for it. And hopefully, over time, we all leave better than what we came in, right? So, um, you know, I'm excited. I'm happy about what's going on, and I'm ready to get this rolling, right? Okay, so rolling into the next thing here, like why this podcast? Like, why did I start this podcast? Right? I didn't start this podcast, like I said again, because I mastered faith. I have not mastered faith. I have been in a serious walk with Christ for about this will be my third year, honestly, and really getting into the meat of it and taking action on it for the last 2 years. And um, I I started this journey and I started this podcast because I had been going through a season of feeling lost and feeling doubtful and needing something more. Right? There's something else out there bigger than me. There's something else out there better than just running through the run of the mill regular day to day grind to make sure that you're okay for the next day. Um, I knew that there was something out there better than just survival, right? And so you know, I started to walk this journey, and before you get to the end of it, or what you think is the end of it, I wanted to showcase what it's like to start, right? What it's like to start and share that with you all. And you know this is something that um, I've kind of I've not dwelt on it long, but I've felt a calling to share this with whoever it can reach, whatever audience I end up building, whatever community I end up building. This is intended to reach each and every one of you. If you're, you know, struggling with dealing with the disappointments of life, those things happen. Loss of job, loss of relationship, things just not working out the way that you thought they would. You're older than you thought you would be, while still not having achieved the things that you thought you would achieve before you reach that age, right? Um, you know, people are desperate for community. People are desperate for people to lean on. They're struggling and having a very hard time of getting through life on their own, feeling like they're by themselves. You know what I mean? And like I said, we'll be documenting this transformation um, in real time. So you all will see my transformation. You all will see um, how things progress and how things change on camera. In those of you listening to the podcast, you will hear the transformation in real time. Like I said, I don't have all of the answers, and I will never present myself as if I do have all of the answers. Um, I want to create a safe space for questions and vulnerability. So, again, like I don't have all the answers, and I will not pretend to have all the answers. But if you have questions, if you have something that you want to share, feel free to put it down in the comments on YouTube, and we can maybe talk about those things at some point. So, what you can expect from this podcast, from the Open Door podcast, you can expect conversations surrounding the topics of faith, relationships, purpose. You will also we'll also have hard conversations. Things regarding masculinity, healing, um, mental health, the battles of the mind. Those are hard to get through. Okay, because I just have an issue with overthinking, and I can't imagine what some real mental health issue would be like. And again, I'm not a professional in any way, stretch, or by any stretch of the imagination, right? So I'm not giving medical advice. I'm not giving health advice. I'm just having these conversations, these open conversations with you, so that there's things for you to ponder. There's things for you to think about, and things for you to say, hey, maybe I need to do some work in that area, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm hoping that we can do that together, right? Um, we'll also talk about some things regarding finances. Now, that is a big a big issue for me at this point in time. I'm trying to figure that out, and I will discuss those things a little bit more detail as we go through these episodes and as we grow and get bigger and we can reach more people. Right? We'll talk about fatherhood. By the way, if you guys did not know, I am a single father. My son is 13 years old. He's my pride and joy. Love him to death and love him to life, I should say. And he's just been amazing. And watching him grow over the 13 years that he's been living, breathing, walking, crawling, crying, and all of that. That has been such an amazing journey, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, regardless of the difficulties and the barriers and hurdles that I've had to overcome during that trial period. It's made me who I am. So I'm thankful for that. And moving on, we'll also on this podcast learn about forgiveness and growth after failure. I apologize for all of the noise. I can't soundproof my apartment, but I suppose it's 10 o'clock. So if you heard that siren, that's what that was. Sorry about that. Um, and you know, like I said, I don't have all of the answers. I don't have I don't have things that will give you the key to your next success. I don't have the keys. I don't have the steps. I don't have the instructions. I don't have the manual, and I'm not going to create one, right? I am not the blueprint. I am simply an example, okay? So we will learn to stop idolizing people. I don't want you to look at me as your leader to look for this is what worked for Rodney, so this can work for me too. We are two different people. Everybody's walk in life is different. And had this heard this analogy. I've heard it before, but it resonated with me recently. I was at a Bible study, and we were talking about how people hear God's voice, and it came up that we are all part of one body. We are all a part of God's body, right? And if we are all a part of God's body, we all represent different pieces and parts of that body, right? So, if you're an ear, you function differently than an eyeball. Or if you are, sinuses, you function differently than, an arm or a muscle in the fingertips, things of that nature. We all have a different purpose. We all have a different focus. We all have something, a different function that God is using us for. So I wouldn't dare give you a step-by-step instruction manual to success because it worked for me. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for you. So I don't want to be the blueprint for anybody. I just want to be an example, and we can then in walk in the path of Christ together and enjoy that journey and enjoy the transformations as they happen, right? Um, you know, I I simply aim to inspire, um, but I don't want to replace your personal relationship with God, right? I want to encourage your relationship with God. I've recently gotten into a very close relationship with the Lord, and my goodness, has it changed a whole lot. And this has happened in a matter of a few months, right? It's just been that amazing, awesome, and I can't explain it, but we will go through some of those things um, as we get in deeper into these episodes. But yeah, what we're doing here, we are just documenting a process, right? We're not presenting perfection. Um, Nobody is perfect but God. Nobody is perfect but the Lord. And so I won't present myself as a perfectionist, or I have to get I have to I used to think that way. Like it had to be perfect. It had to be right, right? It had to be good. Um, just no mistakes, and that caused a lot of stress, right? Um, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fall short of your goals. It's okay to fall short of um, what God has called you to, as long as you are repentant for it, as long as you are still striving toward that goal, as long as you are, still willing to get up again and start that process from where you left off, right? Um, so we're 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 at a point right now where we're just getting to know each other, um, and so I want to share a little bit of um, my story, right? And why I decided to start this podcast right now as opposed to years ago. I had been trying to figure out what my purpose was for a long time. And if you go back and look at some of these videos on the channel, you can see that I've had different identities, and I've tried different things to try and catch fire, but I didn't believe them in my heart. And when they didn't catch on, then I simply just let them go. And so there's not very many videos for the amount of time that I've been on YouTube and for the amount of time I've been kind of creating content has just been very sporadic, but this I want to be consistent with. And the reason for that is because some of those things that I talked about a few minutes ago, like I felt like I was by myself and alone and fighting for survival every single day of my life for years, and I mean decades, right? And I didn't know where I was going to find my peace. I did not know if I was going to find my peace. And I thought that if I just worked hard enough, if I did enough, then it would get me to a point where I didn't have to worry about the things that I was stressing about. And then, like I said, I'm a single father, right? Uh, I have been single for a long time, and I doubted that I would find a partner, and uh, I was lonely, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I need these things to help me fill the void that I feel in my life. I need a relationship. Uh, I need financial relief. I need friends. I need to, you know, whatever the case may be. But it was all about me for the longest time, and I was praying to God selfishly. I was praying to God for relief. I was praying to God for you know um, His provision for me, His blessings for me, and then I got to a point where it's like I can't do this on my own, right? I can't do this anymore on my own, and I Googled, churches near me, and I found a church. It was the first church that I looked at. It was, and the pictures that I saw of the people in the church, it's like this is a very wide range of people and backgrounds and stories. So let me go and check this church out. And I went for the first time. I enjoyed it. And then it's like, well, the real test will be if my son likes it, because my son, uh, we had gone to churches previously, and he just was not feeling it. He just was not there, and so I took my son to this church the next time I went, and he enjoyed it. And then we went again. So this is, I want to say, I can't remember exactly which time this was. This was between the first time and the fourth time that I had gone to this church, and there was an altar call and a call to come up for prayer. And I came up for prayer and uh, made eye contact with one person on the prayer team, and he waved me over. Just, come here. And he prayed for me. And the things that he said in that prayer, I'm just like, how did you know? How could you have known that? That let me know that this was the place that I needed to be. And the next time that I came back with my son, he's clapping his hands, he's praising, he's raising his hands up. And it's like, okay, that's further confirmation that this is where I need to be, right? And so I stuck around with the church, and then I started to get more involved in the church. And I decided that, hey, I needed to get baptized. And I got baptized, and I went under the water as my old self, and my old self died. Um, and I was born again when I came back out of the water. And I didn't know how much I had changed until I started to look around me and I saw the people in tears, just all out bawling and crying because they were witnessing people uh, come to the Lord. They were witnessing people um, share their love and their admiration and their declaration that they wanted to follow Christ. And these were people that were not getting baptized. They were not getting baptized this day. And these were people who were so moved by the Holy Spirit catching and bringing in new people to the kingdom that it brought them to tears. And I know my story. And some of the people that I saw crying that day, I know their story. And that made me think, if they were that moved about seeing someone else be baptized, if they were that moved by seeing someone else come to the Lord, imagine what kind of story that person has, how God and how Jesus has touched their lives. And then in there started the process of, how do I capture testimony? How do I um, use my testimony and the testimony of my community to bring people closer to God? And that's what this is all about. And this is why we're learning faith out loud together, right? Um, you know, there's been a lot of changes in my life, and since then, and I can't explain it here right now, but um, I look forward to future episodes where I can break those things down and I can tell you guys in depth and with great detail as to what's happened to me since I gave my life to Christ and rededicated my life to the Lord. Um, and so, for you, I want to know, like, what questions you've been wrestling with. What struggles have you been trying to navigate through, and what have you needed prayer for? And why now it feels like it's time to speak is because, one, God called me by name and gave me this assignment. And for those of you who know me personally, you know that I am a very soft spoken, reserved type person. And God called me to be bold. And when I heard that, it was so outside of myself that I'm like, who, me? Like, no way are you calling me to do this. I don't talk to people. I don't want to talk to people, right? And now look at me, like, I am opening up a door for whoever wants to walk in. And that is a beautiful thing. Um, so, I'm going to wrap this episode up. And if this connected with you in any way, I'd really appreciate you subscribing, following, and sharing it with somebody that you care about. Or even leaving a review, because that genuinely helps the message reach the people that it may need, or that may need it, right? Um, but more importantly, I want to thank you for opening this door with me. And on the next episode, I want to talk about, something a lot of us, struggle with, but rarely admit it openly, right? So what happens when life forces you to rebuild your identity from scratch? Um, it's an interesting concept, and it's happened to me. Um, Sometimes losing things changes you, but sometimes it reveals you. And I think that conversation is really where the journey begins. So until next time, keep searching, keep growing, and keep the door open. Peace.